It's always fun watching a defense that dictates what the opposing offense can do.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to a Tuesday edition of Locked On Buckeyes. Here on Tuesday, May 28th in the year 2024. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens podcast. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to get started. It's going to be fun to watch Ohio State's defense this year, and it's not just because of the players on the field. Yes, they got guys in Tuimoloau and Sawyer and Simon and Styles and Ransom and Downs and guys in Burke and guys at every level of the defense that are going to be so much fun to watch. Even guys that I did not name will be a lot of fun to watch. But that's not the only reason why I'm looking forward to watching this defense play in the fall. Let's think about what you have right now in Jim Knowles. You have 1 year down, you got 2 years down, and we're going into a season where the Buckeyes will be led by the same defensive coordinator for the third year in a row. Something that I don't believe is as common in college football as many people would think, but it's also going to help the Buckeyes defense dictate what the opposing offense can do, which is great. That's what you want. You don't want the opposing team to come into your house or to go to their house and for their offense to be able to dictate, hey, this is what's going to happen. You have no say in it. You can't do anything to change it. This is what's going to happen. You don't want to be there in a situation. You don't. It's not fun. It's not fun to be on the field when you know, hey, this is what the offense or this is what the defense is going to do, and we can't do anything to stop it. That's not fun for anybody on your team. It's fun for their team, but it's not fun for yours. And when it comes to Ohio State right now, man, think about what it means for the Buckeyes to have Jim Knowles here. His system that is complex. His system that we learned recently during the Buckeyes spring game, something I did not know, was that, hey, it's a one-word system. Jim Knowles literally doing a broadcast, and I went back after being at the spring game, went back and watched the replay on Fox, the TV copy. And one thing, I believe Joe Klatt was talking to Jim Knowles here. Knowles was on the sideline, not upstairs, being the eye in the sky. And Jim Knowles said, hey, Ohio, over the headset. And Joe Klatt, being so smart, said, hey, what is that? What does it mean? And of course, Knowles is not going to give you all the X's and O's and all the nitty-gritty details about that Ohio call, but he did say, hey, it's one word. And in that word, that tells everybody, all 11 guys on the field, what their responsibility is. Now, was it down and distance? Probably. Is there side of the field? Probably. There's quarter? Probably. There's so many different things that Jim Knowles is going to ask of his defense this year, which goes into why the Buckeyes can dictate. They have the guys that should be able to dictate what the offense can do. That can, hey, your front four, just don't let the other guys get a push on you. I heard all the time when I was playing football as a kid, hey, don't let me get a push. Or if I was on the offensive line, get a push. Get a push. You want to be able to do these things because, hey, if you're on offense, you want to be able to push the guy in front of you or push the guy at the second level when you meet him there. You want to be able to push him so the guy behind you can skedaddle by you and take a trip to Pater. Now, earlier this year, Denzel Burke made some comments about the Buckeyes defense. He had a presser after, I believe this was after a spring practice, and he made a quote, and it speaks volumes about what the Buckeyes defense and the players expect to do in the fall. Here's what he had to say, quote, I don't want to put too much out there, but we're going to be having a lot of different looks this year, a lot of different positions, guys everywhere. We're going to dictate what the offense can do this year. That's our goal. And I feel very confident with the guys I'm on the field with. You can take away a lot of things knowing that you've got help inside or you've got help over top. And just knowing these guys are always going to be in their spot makes the game a whole lot faster, end quote. Notice he didn't say a whole lot easier. said a whole lot faster. Because I think the Buckeyes want to start speeding things up for their opponents. And if they're able to speed things up in the way that they think they can, that I believe they should be able to, the opposing teams better watch out. Because if the Buckeyes start dictating things with their front four of Sawyer, of Hamilton, of Williams, of Tuimoloau, to the guys behind them, any combination of Simon, Styles, or Hicks, and the guys behind them, you have Hancock, you got Burke, you got Igvenosin, you have Ransom and Downs. Can't believe I forget two of the best guys on the defense. But here we are. It's been a long weekend. We're getting back into the swing of things. If these guys are doing their job, they're able to dictate and they're able to fully comprehend and understand everything Jim Knowles throws at them, buddy, this is going to be a lot of fun to watch. And for you and I, as Ohio State fans, can't shy away from that fact about us. As Ohio State fans, what do we get? We get a front row seat, a seat we get to pick out, watching this team do what many people think they can do this year. Accomplish all three of their goals. Beat Michigan, win the Big Ten for the first time since 2019. Since 2020. Let me get that number right. And also win the national championship for the first time since 2014. 2014 season. The game was played in January of 15. That's going to be one of those things we're all going to be watching them try to do. And ultimately, I believe they can. They have the opportunity, realistic opportunity, to accomplish all of those goals. Now, if realistically everybody has the opportunity, yes, realistically everybody has the opportunity to win it, knowing that realistically not everybody can. Everybody goes into the season with the same win-loss record. Now, the player that are on each team, they have been compiled at Ohio State, compiled at Georgia, at Alabama, at Purdue, at Indiana, at Ball State, at Ohio, at Toledo, at Akron. Why am I going through those links and those schools that are clearly on different levels? Because even though they have the same record, buddy, they're not on the same playing field. Even though they realistically, yes. But the opportunity is there. Everybody in the sport has the opportunity to go undefeated if players play out of their mind. There's a lot of ifs that need to happen for other schools. But no. Once the games are played, once you see what's out there, no. I think in any given year, at the beginning of the season, there are quite a few. I won't say 20. That's a big number. That could realistically win it. That's a pretty big number. But there's probably any given year 10 guys, 10 teams that can realistically win that thing. But Ohio State can win it. They're the favorite by many to win the national championship. And if that actually happens, it's going to be in part because what the Buckeyes defense does under Jim Knowles' watch this season. This defense is going to be a lot of fun to watch as they dictate what the opposing offense can do. And also, while dictating what the opposing offense can do, we're going to see a lot of guys that will emerge and guys that will be the best players on the defense. Who are some of them? I'll tell you who they are next. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. It's winner take all in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. Simply visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Once again, make sure you visit FanDuel.com/LOCKEDON and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. This episode is brought to you by Billiards Plus. Billiards Plus has the best selection of pool tables, game tables, shuffleboard tables, and more. And the best service in Central Ohio. Everything you need for in-home and backyard entertainment is at Billiards Plus. Billiards Plus carries the best pool tables from Brunswick, Austin, Canada, billiards, and more. And their grills, whether you like charcoal or gas or wood-fired, Billiards Plus has a perfect setup for all grillers. They are family-owned and operated, and when you talk to the staff at Billiards Plus, you know you're talking to an expert who won't steer you wrong. No matter the season, Billiards Plus has you covered for all your indoor and outdoor entertainment needs. Kenny, Sarah, and the whole staff will always go above and beyond to give you the best customer service in the industry. Billiards Plus, visit their showroom on Dublin Center Drive in Dublin. Thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen every day. One thing we're bringing back that we did a few months ago is the Locked On Buckeyes subtext. Being able to join this community is great. It allows you to get text sent right to your phone. Things we do every single day is text people. Well, how about we get those nuggets that we want sent via a text message right to your very own phone number? Buckeyes news, Buckeyes updates, Buckeyes analysis, Buckeyes notes, especially heading into the official visit season. This is a great way that you can get exclusively from being a part of this here podcast at Locked On Buckeyes. Make sure you send a text to 614-587-7853. Once again, that is 684-587-7853. And send a text to sign up. You'll get a 14-day free trial, and after that 14-day trial is complete, it's $4.99 a month after that. What? 2 weeks free, and then $4.99 a month? That is huge. That is great. And it's a great way for us to be closer and be a bigger Buckeye community than we already are. This is exclusive to Locked On Buckeyes listeners and viewers on the YouTube. One thing I think about when it comes to this football team is the guys that are going to be some of the best. Now, we don't exclude the guys that aren't the top of their position, but we do look at guys and say, hey, who is the best? Who is second? Who is third? And kind of rank them that way. I like lists. I think a lot of you like lists, and a lot of us like rankings. Trust me, over the next few months, there'll be rankings coming out from the NBA. I don't know exactly when the NFL Top 100 comes out, if it has already or if it has not. I'm not sure. But that's another list that we enjoy every single year. Even being able to rank and kind of debate, okay, so-and-so has the most home runs of all time. Is it legitimate? And debates will be started based off certain things there. Not saying no names, but y'all know what I'm talking about. So when it comes to Ohio State's defenders and the guys on the defense that will be the best, we'll break them down this way. D-tackle, D-end, linebacker, corner, and safety to kind of give a little bit more of a break and not just go, well, D-line is easy, linebacker's easy, secondary's easy, legitimately easy. But how about we just go D-end, D-tackle, linebacker, corner, safety? And let's go D-tackle first on the interior. It's kind of self-explanatory. It's easy. I think the best guy will be a D-tackle at Ohio State this year is Tyleik Williams. Literally could have gone to the NFL draft last year. Did a second-round pick at worst, early second-round pick at worst. Could have been a late first-round pick if he went out last year. But based off the things that I believe he has done to progress and being able to just get better and really getting his mind right and his training right and getting all the things and improving in the areas that he needed to improve in, I do believe Tyleik Williams is a guy that if he does what we think he can do, he's a first-round pick. Another one, Jack Sawyer. And it's very weird to be an odd of me to be a guy that's I really like Tuimoloau, but I think Sawyer has progressed and played a whole lot better of late than Tuimoloau has. And that's not me saying Tuimoloau has been bad. I just think that in the grand scheme of things, Sawyer will have the better final year at Ohio State, and he could be pushing to be a first-round pick. Now, that's something else. I didn't think at the beginning of last year, even middle of last year, I would even be thinking to say a year from that time period, but that's where he currently is. At linebacker, I think right now I got to go with Cody Simon just because the other guys don't have the experience. Very, very odd of me to do that. Well, no, very realistic of me to do that. But also, even though Cody Simon may have played the best of any linebacker a year ago, I think there may be better linebackers at Ohio State once they get on the field and play consistently at this level. Sonny Styles played a year ago at safety, not at linebacker. I'm in a wait-and-see mode with Sonny Styles and definitely with C.J. Hicks because he has not played that much ball during his Buckeye career. Now, let's go back here quickly, moving fairly quickly here, quicker than I expected. At secondary, I think these two are easy too. The one debate is linebacker. Let's go back a little bit. I think the one debate is linebacker. Some might say at the end of the season, CJ Hicks. I don't have enough data to base that off of. Some might say at the end of the year, Sonny Styles. We, not I, we don't have enough data to base that off of. And so as much as I would like to say Hicks or Styles will be better or will be the best, it's kind of hard right now because the data we have isn't concrete enough or good enough or deep enough for us to make these bold proclamations about these guys that will be playing linebacker for the Buckeyes in the fall. Now, let's move back to the back half of the defense. I think when it comes to corner, it's an easy one with Denzel Burke, but he hasn't benefited by playing with Davis and Igbenogson. And I forget, we're going to do more about this down the road, more of a spotlight and a highlight on what Igbenogson brought to the Buckeyes defense. But it's clear Igbenogson brought something, a level of toughness, a level of trash talk, a different mentality to the Buckeyes defense. That prior to him joining the Buckeyes, what was it? He joined in 2023 season, so 2022 and prior, didn't have it. Didn't have it at all. And so I completely understand why that is the case. I completely understand what he's brought. And that may have helped Denzel Burke in his mentality be the best player he can be. But right now, it's Burke. He is one of those guys that will be one of the best players on the defense. I think when you're looking at it, I think right now, before going to the safety position, the best guy that's going to be on the defense is Denzel Burke. And that's not – and Tyleik Williams is a close second right now based on – the D-line, the linebackers, and the corners. I got Burke 1. I got Tyleik Williams 2. That's really, really close. Number 3, well, not number 3. Number 1 on that list is Caleb Downs. Might be the best player on the defense. Might be the best player on the team. I think when you look at the offensive side of the ball, I think he's better than Egbuka. Definitely better than the running backs and the other receivers currently standing right now, better than the quarterbacks. Caleb Downs is going to bring a level of play that Ohio State fans haven't had at this level at the safety position for an entire season. And it's going to be so much fun to watch. And Jim Knowles understands what he is getting in Caleb Downs. Jim Knowles understands what Caleb Downs brings to the Buckeyes defense. But also a lot of Buckeye fans are going to get a glimpse of Caleb Downs because it goes from watching the highlights at Alabama. Maybe you watched a full game, maybe you didn't. Doesn't really matter. But no matter if you watched a full game of him or not, or you watch highlights, seeing it in the scarlet and gray, seeing him do things that you want to see a safety do, but doing them in a way and doing it in a consistent way that it's like, wow. We were expecting big things from Caleb Downs. We weren't expecting all of these things from Caleb Downs. It's going to be so much fun to watch, really enjoyable, and I can't wait to see this Buckeye defense under Jim Knowles in year 3 do the big things that we expect them to do. Now, speaking of the players, that's going to be fun to watch. Speaking of year 3 under Knowles, that's going to be fun as the Buckeyes defense dictates things from the opposing offense, what they can do. But what teams will be the toughest tests for the Buckeyes defense in the fall? We'll dive into that next. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today. It's a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news. Streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. One thing when it comes to this defense is that, well, they're going to be loaded. They are loaded. They're going to be fun to watch. We all are on the same page there. But what is it about this team that will they be tested like we think they might be? Will they be a team that just runs through everyone on their schedule? What teams pose the biggest test for the Buckeyes defense? And I think that as I'm trying to use this, pull things up clearly like I planned to do a couple of seconds ago, there are certain teams that provide a big test for Ohio State, others do not. I think the biggest test easily, in no particular order right now, for the Buckeyes defense in the fall. You got Michigan, you got Penn State, you got Oregon. Sorry, Iowa fans, if you're listening to this or watching this right now, I don't think your offense poses the biggest threat, one of the top 3 threats to the Buckeyes offense right now. Buckeyes defense. If you're a Spartan, sorry. Once again, wrong. Nebraska, no. Purdue, no. Northwestern, no. Indiana, no. And I clearly skipped over Akron, Western Michigan, and Marshall because I don't think they pose the biggest threats either. Ohio State's schedule, realistically, when you look at it, it's not that tough. It's not as tough as Michigan's. It's not as tough as other teams in the Big Ten. You got Michigan, you got Penn State, you got Oregon. Yeah, Nebraska will be better. Iowa, it's Iowa. You don't have Wisconsin. You got to go on the road to East Lansing, but still, that should be a big W. It's really not that difficult. Now, if I'm trying to rank these things here, I think the first toughest test for the Buckeyes defense is going to be Oregon. You got to go to Eugene, Autzen Stadium, which is easily one of the toughest places Ohio State will play this year. Yes, they got to go to Happy Valley. You got Michigan at home. Wrigley Field playing Northwestern. That's I know it's in Chicago, which is where Northwestern plays, not too far. It might be a Buckeye home game based off how many Buckeye fans will actually be there for that game because Buckeye fans travel far. It's Wrigley Field. Enough said. But man, let's just look at this really quickly. You got to go to Oregon. I believe their quarterback is Dylan Gabriel, I believe. I don't know why that name is escaping me. But they have, Dylan Gabriel. They have the better quarterback. They have a guy in Dan Lanning that brings a level of toughness and togetherness and a level of physicality that, well, even though you think physicality on defense, that offense is going to be very, 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 very tough as well. So the Buckeyes defense will have to get a midseason test on the road in one of the most hostile places, probably the second most hostile place they'll play this year, outside of Beaver Stadium in Happy Valley. It's Oregon, easily. Now, the second toughest test is Penn State. Now, here's a luxury about this. Drew Aller, or Allar, however you say his name. I've heard Aller. I've heard Allar, both on broadcasts. I don't think he's that good. I don't. I said this last year. And even going into the game, I kept hearing people say, oh, Allar is not that good. Okay, let me see it more in the game against Ohio State's defense. I saw some game film previously, and I was more leaning towards he's not that good. But, yeah, I'm not thinking he's going to be that good. I think, who was it? Locked On Nittany Lions host. Forget his name. Forgive me. Some of y'all will go and look it up and say, Jay, he's been on your show before. You guys have done shows together. Yeah, but right now, his name escapes me. That's not saying he's not a good guy. It's just, I forget names every now and then. He said that Drew Aller was going to be a future number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft, and I wanted to sit there and, excuse me? That guy? Number 1 overall? Not in the NFL. Probably not even the CFL. Maybe overseas in another league over on the other side of the pond where they play American football. But, buddy, I don't see that with this guy. And I mentioned him on purpose. Penn State's lost 2 of their top receivers. Now, not the top 2, but 2 of their receivers that were going to play this year. You got Julian Fleming, who is not a walking 100 receiver, catching 10 catches and 100 yards a game guy. But he's also not a guy that's going to have 100 yards in a season receiving and only catch 2 passing touchdowns in a season. He is not that guy. I think during his best year, which was when Stroud was a quarterback, he had over 500 receiving yards. Legitimately was the 3rd, maybe the 4th option. And so when you think about that in totality, if you give Fleming a decent, maybe an elite quarterback, maybe like if you give him an above average quarterback, he'll do some good things for you. But I don't know if Drew Aller is an above average quarterback. And so that's going to be a test because, one, Fleming knows the strengths and weaknesses of Vic Minosen and of Burke, having to go up against those guys in practice. And he also knows Ransom. He knows style. Like, he knows these guys very, 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 very well. And so that's another thing. He may not be the best, which he is not. He's not the worst either. But he also knows how to play mind games with these guys on the field. The third, it's not going to be in talent, but it's going to be in the mental hurdle for Burke, for Hancock, for Tuimoloau, for Williams, for Hamilton, for Sawyer to get over the mental hurdle of not beating Michigan. That is a big reason why, even if Michigan's offense is not amazing this year, which if the quarterback is who we think it's going to be, and Alex Orji, am I really worried about the quarterback play? No. This game is one, they're going to have talent, but two, there's a mental hurdle, mental obstacles. There are things these guys are going to have to jump over mentally. Are going to have to dodge physically. Going to have to dodge mentally. Why? Because Michigan's legitimately had Ohio State's number the past 3 years. It's not fun to talk about that stuff, but it's the reality. So, yes, the biggest tests, Oregon 1, Penn State 2, Michigan 3. Even though Michigan might have more talent, I think Penn State, especially in the environment, if it was Michigan, if Buckeyes were playing Michigan in Ann Arbor this year, and all three of these games were road games, going to Eugene in Autzen Stadium, going to Happy Valley to Beaver Stadium, going to Ann Arbor to play at the Big House, then the order might be a little bit different. And this is not saying number 3 because Michigan's going to be bad. I think the other two schools that have better off will be a little bit different than Michigan this year, especially when you don't really you expect a good O-line play from Michigan. Do you know what you're going to get out of Donovan Edwards as the lead back? No. Do you know who the quarterback is going to be? You may have a good thought or good guess, but is that guy going to be enough to make Michigan a legitimate threat for Ohio State in the fall? That's legitimately TBD, to be determined. But that's my list. What is yours? We all love lists as sports fans, and this is one of those times we can make some and debate about them. This episode, this show, man, it's good to be back with y'all. Had a long break during Memorial Day weekend, but it's good to be back. Good to talk Buckeye football. Make sure you sign up for that subtext. Make sure you sign up for it and enjoy it. Actually, there's a link in the bio. YouTube, audio podcast, doesn't matter. There's a link in the bio for you to sign up there as well. So maybe you don't want to sign up via text. Maybe you missed it. Just go to the show notes, click that link, and you can sign up there. Have you heard the big news? Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On Plus, our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You can follow me on X at jstevens07. Send every single email to jstevens317@gmail.com. We're out of here, Buckeye fans, on a Tuesday. We'll see you next time.